Hello and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. I am in charge of the tools today. That's only a bad thing, really. Normally it's Jack, normally it's Max, and for some reason they've thought, do you know what? Ross needs to finally take off the training wheels and get involved. So hopefully this is coming through for everybody. If it's not, then please shout. We are joined today by the mighty Dan Weston, who is in the wrong place. You're being called Ross Legg today.
It's an honour, Ross. Absolute honour to be called Ross Legg.
We're all in the wrong place, Ross.
Well, as I said,
That's fine.
I don't get. There we go. Is that better? Oh, we're almost there. There we go. If people want a tutorial on how to do a YouTube stream, then I'm very much here for everybody to be here. So today on the show, we are going to be talking about the wonderful world of Test match cricket. It is back for England fans and West Indies fans. We will also be covering cricket news, where we'll provide a bit of a brief update on what's happening in the world of cricket in the last 24 hours or so. As you are all aware, we do have a new sponsor, don't we, Max? As you can see on the graphic. Who is our sponsor and how can people get sweet, sweet discount?
Our sponsor are Serious Cricket. So those who joined us for the Ashes daily shows may remember that for one of those or a couple of those games, we were pushing the Serious Cricket, and they've come back to us. It was clearly a successful partnership. We like them, they like us. It's all good. So you can get 10% off your cricket equipment with the code TCP22. The whole range of cricket equipment made in the UK, and they do all the team stuff that we use for our podcast's cricket team. So we can vouch for the quality of it all. And as I said, 10% off. Now is the time, isn't it? Now is the time to start buying your cricket gear. The season is fast approaching. The net sessions are coming out, so. Get on it and buy yourself. Treat yourself to something new. So,
Within a month, you can have all the gear and no idea.
Exactly right. I think that's what I've made a career out of looking good, and then blaming everything but myself when I actually get out. So that's the piece de resistance, I think. So let's talk about the bit of a preamble on the team. So we're going to start with the day one play between England and West Indies. It's a new era. It's the Red Bull reset, as it's been touted. And I was reading an article, I think it was by Will McPherson, saying to temper some expectations around the Red Bull reset. And he was arguing that there are still big gaps that need to be filled by the England establishment or the ECB, as they don't have a test coach, they don't have a batting coach, don't have a white ball coach, and they don't have a director of cricket. But the game is won by people on the field, isn't it, lads? Like, it's not done by Ed Smith's big brain behind the scenes.
You
just
wait.
wait.
Talking to a recruiter here.
I know. I know. So when it comes to that, what were your expectations, Dan, of this England side today? Were you buying into the Red Bull reset narrative, or were you just like, do you know what, this test is coming a little bit too soon for them?
Okay, so do I buy into the Red Bull reset narrative? No, because I just don't really see they haven't really done much difference with the batting apart from, Lawrence plays a Pope, which I don't really understand. Lees comes in, and I think I said on this pod a few months ago when he got his call up that, he's decent, scored runs at a tough home venue, but whether he's any better than the guys who have dropped is certainly up for debate. Mm-hmm. So the reset, not a massive buyer. Ultimately, you've still got. There's a lot to. If you can't have a reset without a coach, you can't have a reset without director of cricket or whatever as well. You just can't do it. So, Yeah, let's see. I'm sceptical. I think what we also have to look at is the fact that England. I think in their last few series have played New Zealand, India, and Australia, and now they're playing West Indies, who aren't as good. So. We have to understand that, like, as I said a lot of times before, one run is not all runs are not equal. Some runs are worth more than others, and a 50 against the West Indies is not probably worth the same as a 50 against India, for example, or Australia way. And that's just the pure facts of the matter. And so No, I don't buy into the Red Bull reset. I think there's a lot of problems still, but they're lucky that they're coming up against a weaker team than what they've largely played over the last year or so.
Okay, well, I'm gonna move on, Dan, because all I'm hearing is insults about my centuries that I've ever hit, and you're saying that my centuries aren't as good as kind of Virat Kohli centuries, which I just don't think is true. Max, England line up with a weaker test side, didn't we? I listened back to your prediction show, your preview show, but we were lining up with a weaker side against this West Indies. Broaderson, as I was about to call it, Broad and Anderson. I'm going to stick with Broaderson for the rest of the show. Obviously not there. We've already mentioned Alex Lees, Dan. Is the bowling lineup, Max, do you think, was it the right one? Because typically England like to go with just 4 or 5 right-arm seamers. Jack Leach is in Red Bull reset.
Yeah. So that's the one thing we've read. Everyone loves a narrative, don't they? Red Bull reset, that's the new narrative. Maybe everyone's getting a bit carried away after Operation Red Meat, which has conveniently been brushed under the carpet after events of the recent week. I don't think for England fans, I think it would take a little bit more than thermonuclear war to distract from whether or not Red Bull reset's going to be a success. Mm-hmm. England's bowling lineup, obviously it's weaker because Broad and Anderson are not there, and they're England's 2 best bowlers, but we knew that. Ollie Robinson being injured is a shame because he's probably, he would have been pretty useful given the conditions. But yeah, obviously it's not a full strength lineup. I'm glad Jack Leach is in there because it looks like a pitch that might take some turn later on. It's already the odd puff of dust, and it was dry, wasn't it? There were cracks yesterday before they supposedly watered it a bit before we started. So nice to see that he's got his go. As for what have we got? I mean, Wokes will be, I think, the key for England because with the Duke's ball, how often do you get to say that away from England? And the amount of swing that Roach and Holder managed to extract today, I think Wokes is going to be key, and he's going to need to perform for England. Whether or not having Mark Wood and Overton in there is going to be particularly effective, I'm not 100% sure. So. Yeah, I think that's going to be key for England because we are lacking our most penetrating bowling attack. But that said, jury's out on the West Indies batting lineup just as it is on England. So that's the thing. It's always interesting when you've got 2 teams lining up who are inherently flawed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with Leach as well, I'm confident actually that I think he might have a pretty good game. I look at the conditions and I think that he should enjoy that. And when you consider that West Indies have got 6 right-handers in their top 7 and the lefty is one of the openers, the matchup should be pretty good for him. He's got a much better record against right-hand batters than he does against left-handers. So the stage is set. I mean, this is a pretty big match for Jack Leach, I think, because England, for once, are on the verge of posting 300 plus. They're going to bowl 4th, presumably, on this pitch. He's got matchups in his favour. This is the time he needs to spin the opposition out.
Mm-hmm. He needs to walk away with a Test match fifer at least, right? Out of this, maybe we'll take 8 in the match. I'll go for 8 in the.
I'll imagine 4 and 3 or something. 4 and 3. Like that.
So Dan, you mentioned the kind of 6 right-handers in the lineup for the West Indies, batting wise. Am I right in looking at this team and seeing Jason Holder batting at 6? That's a pretty limited tops or batting lineup in general, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so, and I mean a pretty long tail as well from 8 till 11 with kind of 4 genuine bowlers. I think. I mean, Azari can bat a little bit, but certainly when you consider England have got Chris Wokes at 8 compared to him, I mean that's a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, let's get on to the key talking points for the day. Hardeep, thank you ever so much for the super chat. You should have seen our new GIF on there, which is trying to at least celebrate Shane Warne's life after the kind of torrid news that we all experienced over the last couple of days. But where we've got the key talking points, let's start from the top, and we will get to your point, Hardeep, around Jonny Bairstow. Kemar Roach, 33. He's a little bit younger than Broderson. He was in fine fettle today, Max, wasn't he? He was hooping the ball round, and as a Surrey boy, were you at cross purposes? Were you torn internally? What were you seeing?
No, not at all. I was thoroughly behind Kemar Roach because, let's be honest, we all enjoy seeing England's top order completely collapse on itself. It's nice, in these times, it's nice to have comforting familiarity. So perhaps Kemar Roach was providing us with one of those. But he's a phenomenal bowler. We know that he's he's in some excellent company in terms of all-time wicket takers for the West Indies, and he's had to sort of change things up a little bit, hasn't he, after having injuries in the past and sort of developing his skill with the ball. And
was he in a car accident off the scene? 2000, I think it was 2014. Was it a car accident, Kemar Roach? I think obviously caused some of those injuries you're talking about there, Max.
Yes. So down on pace from what he used to be, but still a very, very potent force. I think Jack and I both had him down as the guy who's taken the most wickets in the series as well, and he started very well. But they both he and Jason Holder were excellent in that first session. Joseph and Hayden and Seals were a little bit more expensive, but they still looked pretty threatening at times as well. But it wasn't it wasn't a case of looking at, apart from maybe Joe Root, and even though it looks bad when you leave a straight one, you can't sit there and say this was England's batsmen being completely got out, can you? I mean, the setup for Alex Lees was excellent, like really nicely bowled, but the front leg was planted, wasn't it? He got drawn out. It was that bit. Out. It was.
He did what was expected, right? Kemar Roach was as such. You know what? I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna make sure that this over is good. I'm gonna do what I typically look to do and try and catch him on the crease and see if he's got a bit about him. And unfortunately, Leeds just played straight to the trap. Yeah.
And that's it, isn't it? That's the step up that happens at Test level. I know we alluded to it. Kemar Roach played for Surrey for the start of last year, and he's going back to Surrey at the start of the county championship this year. So you do face those kinds of bowlers in the county championship, but not all the time. You only get it maybe for a bit at the start, and then they have to join their country and they get changed for someone else, or the odd game. So you're not always facing that level of quality.
Different division as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's just that kind of skill that I think at Test level perhaps not quite not quite as au fait with from playing the county game. But we won't be judging Alex Lees on one failed outing at the top of the England order, because if we did that, we wouldn't have anyone left.
Absolutely.
What do we have anyway?
You mentioned Joe Root leaving a straight one. It was a pretty good straight one, if we're being honest.
Well, it didn't start straight, did it?
But I think I know what Daddy Root's problem is that the hairband's back. Why is the old lady hairband back?
Oh, the Alice band, yeah.
Like it's not even like a Stuart Broad bandana or Sam Curran kind of Karate Kid. It's literally an old lady's zigzag one. Like what's going on, Joe? You're the England captain, mate. Like, come on. I think someone needs to have a word with him. Josh De Silva. Dan, thoughts on him? His catch to dismiss Zach Crawley, who played a big booming drive. It was terrible technique. I'm not one to talk about having good or bad technique, really. But it was.
You're not a professional cricketer.
Exactly. I'm not opening the batting for England, much to my chagrin, really. But I think Max, and it was a dream wicket keeper's catch, wasn't it? First and foremost. And then Dan, from a Josh De Silva point of view, is he the real deal? Because I was reading a couple of things. Like, he's come through the ranks pretty quickly. Kind of where should we be judging him in kind of wicket keeper terms here?
I haven't seen enough of him to really comment in terms of his actual wicket keeping ability. But that was a stunning catch today against Zach Roy. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately for me, I do generally equate a wicketkeeper's quality to what they have with the bat, unless they're a truly exceptional wicketkeeper. And De Silva at this point in time, he's still young, so you wouldn't want to be definitive on this. Still averages less than 30 in first-class cricket with only 100.
Yeah.
So he's got work to do. I think that's pretty obvious, simply based on the numbers. But it's absolutely stunning catch today. I was super impressed with that.
In terms of England's batting, England did find themselves in a very, very familiar 48 for 4. So red ball reset. I think the button was possibly broken at this point in time. But what I liked about today was that you saw the value in batting in partnerships. So on tough pitches, generally in cricket you should be batting in partnerships, right? But there is a bit where sometimes digging in together as a pair and trying to go, right, we just need to survive for, say, half an hour here, then another half an hour, and just getting through those periods is a critical part. It's a critical part of Test cricket. And I thought that Stokes and Bairstow weathered the storm really well together, Max. This was a kind of a welcome fight back, right? I mean, we've come to expect it from the kind of ginger duo of Stokes and Bairstow. But this seemed I don't know, I was proud to be watching it.
Yeah, the two most IPL-y guys of England's batting lineup. Showing obdurate resistance. I was very impressed. They brought some calm back to proceedings. I mean, Bairstow, the way he paces innings was brilliant. Getting in, frustrating the bowlers for a bit, and then towards the end when they tired, accelerating as he did. It was really a very mature innings from Jonny Bairstow. What's interesting for me, I think, is sort of what he's been saying about how determined he is to now he's back in the side, to stay in the side. And we've said a number of times, why is Jonny Bairstow in the side? Why does he keep getting a chance? But he's got the chance, and now he's back. If he is, that determined to stay in the side, and he's going to work as hard as it seems like he wants to and will do to be in the side, then he's obviously got plenty of ability. So if he's going to focus it on trying to stay in the Test side, that can only be good for England. So maybe we will see a late renaissance in the Jonny Bairstow career. And it's a good start for me as well, because I said Jack poo-pooed this rather a lot, but in the preview show I said that I thought Jonny Bairstow would end up being top scorer for the series because he'd be punishing the old ball. So far, I think I'll take my chips out and leave.
Well, the only person I'm worried for, Dan, I know that you typically can't talk much about the IPL, but I'm only worried now that he's going to be so good at Test cricket, his white ball cricket will suffer. So I hope for
No, I've got the opposite opinion, Ross.
He's going to KL Rahul it.
He's one ton out of one innings since he joined Punjab Kings. That's obviously the accelerator to his career blooming in all formats rather than just a white ball.
Love it, absolutely love it. And continuing in that vein, in batting in partnerships, he also had a partnership with Ben Foakes, who kind of many England fans will be happy to see back with the gloves. And he looked like he hadn't been away, guys. Like he looked serene at the crease. Didn't look too troubled. I think he was relatively unfortunate to get out. I think Holder bowled well to him, and I just think the ball just didn't bounce as much as he thought. Dan, you mentioned that you value wicketkeeper's contribution with the bat. Foakes has done okay in Test cricket, hasn't he? In relatively difficult kind of batting conditions, I suppose.
Yeah, he's done okay. I don't really see him averaging much more than low 30s long term. Mm-hmm. But
if you're batting 7.
That's no worse than Butler or whoever else you're going to
Sibley, Burns. Should we continue going down the list? Ollie Pope.
Yeah. But I think I've made the point quite a few times before that I think that England's keeping options are much of a muchness when it comes to their batting ability. So you may as well just pick the best keeper.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
And unfortunately for you, Max, maybe that means that Foakes is going to have a sustained period away from the Oval.
Yeah, that's a good. I hadn't thought about that side of things. Just when I've upgraded my membership to the county as well.
That's all right. Jamie Smith's going to be really good as well.
That's true. Yeah, he'll be the next one.
Yeah, he will. I think he will.
So Hardy, coming back to your super chat earlier, said that Bairstow's innings is hard-earned watch all day long, with good battle and past my time at work. A second new ball at a very first swing like crazy. He, as you say, Max, he timed his innings perfectly. Really, he stepped on the gas at the right time. It ended the day not out, which is fantastic. Tim Walton Davis saying he's like a fine wine, obviously getting better with age, but he was on the receiving end of a fucking shocker. There's no other way to describe. I'm sorry for those who don't like swearing, but Joel Wilson had a nightmare. Jonny Bairstow has gone to sweep Purmall and then bottled it, and then go, do you know what? I'm going to get out if I do this. Pretty much like left his bat there. It was nowhere near the bat, and the keeper went up and he got triggered big time. The umpire could not wait to give him out.
Finger,
That's out, mate. That is out. Yeah. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
He didn't even pause to think, did he? The umpire?
It was club, wasn't it? It was club cricket umpiring.
Yeah.
Someone on Twitter posted and they said something like, it was the sort of thing that you see on a Saturday in park cricket because the umpire's so disgusted about your shot selection that like they give you out.
Yeah. Or it's or you're doing self-umpired and you owe your mate a drink from last night because you didn't do the last round and he's getting you back. It's that level.
It was an absolute shocker, and he's not had the best record, old Joel Wilson. He's in a bit of trouble.
No.
So let's look forward to that for the rest of the series, and I think thank goodness we've got three DRS reviews. As we said, Bairstow, that is 2 centuries in a row in Test cricket. It's 3 centuries in a row if you count the President's Game. Long may that continue.
You don't count that.
Max, I need to try and boost where my runs are coming from, and you should also be doing the same. But let's talk about Jason Holder. Akash has perfectly timed what I'm going to move on to, saying that Holder is one of the underrated all-rounders. I don't know how he is underrated.
Wasn't he the top ICC rated all-rounder?
But people are still surprised that he continues to deliver. And I think he's shifted in the last, definitely the last 18 months to being a more effective T20 bowler. But that has not diminished his his effectiveness in Test cricket, and he always seems to perform against England. I won't be surprised if he hits a few runs with the bat, if I'm perfectly honest, against this England lineup. But again today, I think his first 5 overs were maidens, and I think after 10 overs he'd gone for about 14 runs. Like, the guy just has so much control. Dan, in this lineup, when you've got some inexperience in the bowling lineup, just how important is having a Jason Holder in there?
He's an exceptional player. I think that obviously we said earlier he's batting too high at 6, but I would probably call him a bowling all-rounder rather than a genuine all-rounder. Mm-hmm. But he's exceptional at what he does. He's definitely one of the leading all-rounders in Test cricket. You compare his output to Stokes, for example, at the moment. Bowling Holder is immeasurably better than Ben Stokes. Stokes is a better batter, but I think if you look at the sort of overall package, if you gun to your head, you probably would pick Holder.
Well, you're going to get loads and loads of people in the YouTube comments later on talking about that, Dan. But yeah, I think I'm on the same page, right? And you get someone who consistently performs is much more valuable, right? And as much as we like to see the miracle at Headingley, there is a piece around if you're trying to win cricket games and trying to get to number 1 in the Test rankings, how do you get there, right? And actually, is consistency of performance and hitting those runs. If you're a number 5 batter, you need to be hitting runs. So let's hope that Ben Stokes goes on a Joe Root-esque form run just like last year.
On that subject as well, looking at England's batting order, I'm unsold about Root at 3. I've been. I can't help thinking that it should be rejigged quite a bit. I know that he's got a ton today, but I think Bairstow at 6 is too low. I don't see why your best batter should be in at 3 when you pretty much always lose an early wicket and you'll get exposed to the new ball. Mm-hmm. Number 3s tend to average less than other batting positions because they tend to get the worst of it. And I think it should be either Stokes or Bairstow at 3.
But we have tried Bairstow at 3. Didn't particularly work.
No, but the thing is, it's a tough place to bat, Ross. It's so difficult. 30 at 3 is like the same value as like 40 at 5 or 40 at 6.
Well, there's also a part that Joe Root has typically been in at number 4 at the same time and number 3 comes in because we lose 2 wickets in the first 3 overs. So I completely get where you're coming from, Dan. Around
he's got all his runs at 4.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. That was what I was very surprised at. Last year, Joe Root had pretty much had a record-breaking year, or near in Khan's record, and there was a bit like, how is moving Joe Root the answer to solving that problem? And it was a little bit strange, right? We dropped Rawdon Anderson, moved Joe Root, who was the only thing that was working well for England.
Yeah, basically, or the 3 things that were going well about the England team, you've changed.
It's unconventional. Let's be fair. It's unconventional thinking. But it's
the reset.
It is the reset, the Red Bull reset. We need a little icon, Max, when we said Red Bull reset, and I could press the button. But yeah, it's a little bit strange, but they're going to stick with it for this series. I think it's going to really heavily depend down on, if we continue it into the summer round, how well Alex Lees and Zach Crawley does opening the batting, I think.
Which is certainly not a given.
Yeah, certainly not a given. The only other bit I want to talk about on this is the spin bowling. And we mentioned the pitch at the start. It looks like it's going to take some spin. I think typically it's been a bit of a spinner's graveyard, if some of the stats I was reading on Twitter were to be believed. I was a big fan of Craig Brathwaite bowling moonball.
The slowest off spin I've ever
seen. Round the wicket. Let's try and just try and loop one up. Do you, I
think it would get you out, wouldn't it?
I've mentioned it before, but Jeremy Snape used to bowl moonballs, right? And it used to be a variation. I want to see it back, and I was so close. I was shouting at the TV today, saying, "Give it more flight, Craig," just to hopefully see the grenade land.
There's a difference, though, isn't there, when it's Test cricket to a situation where you have to score runs. You don't have to deal with what was coming at you there, where you could just disdainfully ignore it. Whereas, on a T20, it's much more entertaining. But it was nice to see. I did like it. Captain backing himself.
And then Permal in the side. His action is quite strange. Almost bowls off the wrong foot, and I don't know. He's got a bit of a Harbhajan Singh about him, and then. I don't know. It kind of a bit of the Paul Adams.
I'm very impressed that he manages to bowl it anywhere near the stumps, given that his final move before actually delivering the ball is like miles away from the direction he's supposed to be going. To be able to get all that in sort of one biomechanical movement is very, very impressive. I think you're just going away from where you're trying to. It's bonkers, but yeah, it's.
I can imagine all the budding umpires out there were sitting there looking at their rule book and being like,
trying to work out, isn't that a back foot no ball?
Is that not a no ball? Yeah. But I think it was quite funny them picking a left armour purely because they're playing England. He doesn't look like the best spinner, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well, he's got a pretty good record in first class cricket. I think he averages about 21 or something with the ball. I think he's been sort of ploughing his furrow there for a long time. So he's probably the kind of guy that. He's suffered from the fact that he, probably don't go for a spinner as much in the West Indies a lot of the time, and has perhaps been a bit unfortunate not to get more of a go in some of the overseas games. So we will see, but didn't look too threatening today. But it's day one, so
it is day
plenty of time yet.
And it also is England, right? Left arm is kryptonite.
Yeah, plenty of scope to screw up still, don't worry.
Oh yes. So, he could come away from the series like Mbaldenia, right? Mbaldenia, Lemon Land, and being the
20 wickets, 20 average, yeah.
Exactly right. Is there anything else more to talk about, chaps, for day one? I think we've covered most of it.
Well, who do you think won it, Ross? What are you saying? Is it an England win for the day? Is it evens?
It definitely was a good test. It was a good day of Test match cricket.
It was certainly better.
It was a pendulum, wasn't it? Right?
Pakistan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can talk about that in a minute. I think England are close to. Dan, you mentioned it. England are close to 300. We should go past that mark because of Bairstow and the batting partnerships that he's had. I think it was 50 with Wokes as well towards the end there. So I think overall England will be actually bloody happy with that today.
Yeah, for me, England are should be much happier than West Indies going into day 2. I mean, several reasons. One, from 48 for 4, England put on 220 for 2, and that's they'll be delighted with that momentum. I don't believe in momentum really, but they'll be delighted with that going into day 2. And secondly, if you'd have offered both teams this scoreline after day 1, England would have bitten your hand off, and West Indies wouldn't have taken it.
Yeah, Max, would you agree with that?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's sort of in the context of where the day started and where the day ended. It has to be a win for England. And again, sort of when you look at the West Indies batting lineup with Alzari Joseph coming in at 8, and De Silva averages only like 20 odd anyway. Jason Holder at 6. I don't think it would. Yeah, look, it looks like England will probably have too many on the board. So
fair
positives.
Well, as Tissue Box has posted in the chat, if Roston Chase was playing, he would have obliterated this lineup. So,
sure.
So
where is Roston Chase?
I don't know. He's in the T20 squad, and he's as the middle order anchor that they just don't need.
Yeah, he's very useful. Very useful with the ball in T20. In fairness, they could just play him as a bowler, but not one of 4 anchors.
Yeah, it was. No. So let's move on to cricket news. There is obviously all kinds of stuff happening at the moment, including the Women's World Cup and some other test matches. Let's start with the historic return to Pakistan for the Australian team in test match cricket. But let's be honest, it's been a complete waste of time.
14 wickets.
An absolute snooze fest, wasn't it?
England would have found a way of getting bowled out twice.
I saw that so many times. So many people going, England would have found a way to get out for less than that 150 on the road that was that pitch.
It wasn't a waste of time for Imam ul Haq and Abdullah Shafiq, because they really boosted their averages from that game.
Mate, fill your boots though, right? You can only play the game that's in front of you. And actually, in that situation, they did it what any good self-respecting opening batsman would have done.
Yep. 9 bowlers Australia used in that 5th day.
There was a county game a couple of years back. I think it was in 2020 between Glamorgan and Northants. I think like Glamorgan got like 600 and something, and Northants got about 700 odd, and it was a draw. And I think everyone had a bat and everyone had a bowl by the end of it. Yeah, that was it.
That was my only disappointment, was that there weren't 11 different bowlers on that Australian side.
Yeah. When your wicket-keeper bowls, I look at that as the equivalent of your goalkeeper taking a penalty in a penalty shootout, which we did see in the League Cup.
Max the Chelsea fan.
We don't need to go into that. Wouldn't worry. I think you'll find that what Kepa Arrizabalaga was doing in that penalty shootout was taking a goal kick anyway. So
sub that wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the ball's just coming down now. Actually,
it was funny. It was really funny.
It hit Chris Waddle's one from Italy.
That space, that bit of space junk that's heading into the moon. It's actually knocked it off course.
But praise does have to go to Norman Ali, who picked up 6 for 107, his best ever bowling figures. As Australia did collapse, they should have retired. They should have declared overnight and come out and try to make a game of it. But it was just too little, too late, really. Australia's women were also playing in the Women's World Cup against Pakistan, and they duly dispatched Pakistan in pretty dismissive fashion, really. Pakistan got 190 from their 50 overs, and then Australia chasing them with, I think it was 34 overs on the board. That is something like that. Yeah, I mean that is, in terms of kind of when you compare teams across it, this Australian women's team it's unbelievable. It's such a strong outfit, and I mean it's going to be pretty hard for anybody to get one past them. But it's shaping up nicely, I think. And it is International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day to all of our female listeners. Dan,
all 2 of them.
Hey, we've got at least 5.
My wife listens quite a lot.
That's good. And did she come up and say, Dan, you did a great job? Was she reassuring?
Occasionally, or most of the time, she usually like takes something out of me. You should have said this, or you shouldn't have said that. You say too much, all this stuff.
We have been accused of mocking England way too much by Louis Griffin in the chat.
We're English.
It's the best
We
thing
are
about having
bottom
a
of the
cricket
World
podcast.
Test Championship table.
Yeah, we've literally we are rock bottom. We've got 10 penalty points as well, or whatever it is for some overrate. We're a shambles. Like the only thing you can do is laugh.
With a cricket equivalent of Derby.
Yeah, exactly. we're so close to going into administration. It's unbelievable. IPL news to wrap up the show. Jason Roy for the Almeda Bad Boys has pulled out, and Gurbaz, Dan, your boy Gurbaz, who you've touched upon a number of times on kind of previous shows, has been picked up by the Bad Boys. I was looking at their team today, and I think their lineup looks dreadful now. Like Rashid Khan has swapped one dumpster fire for another dumpster fire, is my initial take on this, but we will cover the IPL in a bit more detail.
Yeah, and obviously Dan Weston recuses himself from comment on the lineups of his rivals. But
seeing as I've been part of the process that signed Gabars for Leicester this summer, yeah, I mean, that kind of tells you that I do rate him. But...
I was just going to get something out of you, but in terms of that, I think Gomez is a good pickup actually, and I think out of that team, I just don't want them to play Matt Wade. I think that is it. But this is not the IPL show. This is the Day One show, and the other part is that Henrik Nortje might be ruled out for the entire IPL, which is a massive blow to Delhi. He's the spearhead of their attack. We said that actually their recruitment strategy, they needed someone else to support Nortje just in case his injury didn't recover, and lo and behold, that is what has happened. No Rabada this time to bail them out. I think that is everything that we've got time for. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on the show as always. Hopefully we'll see you again over the next couple of weeks. You're on tomorrow. Brilliant. I think you're in chat. So, yeah. Excellent. Well, hopefully it finishes on time. The overrate again was pretty poor today, I think. But that's just Test cricket for you.
Well, that's because of the England batsmen kept backing away.
Mm.
It was quite weird. There was like 5 or 6 times where the batsman kind of said, "No, stop."
I don't know what's going on.
Kemar Roach should just bowl.
Wasted 5 minutes on the worst umpiring decision of all time as well.
They sure did. Dan, where can people find you on Twitter?
At SA Advantage.
Building that brand day by day. Love it. Max, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for listening to the show. See you soon.